서사시적인 소개로 만들어 보세요. 신사숙녀 여러분, 서미트 e스포츠 그랜드 피날레에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 우리 모두가 기다려온 순간, 나이언 일병 갱킹이 사이버 괴롭힘에 맞서 타이탄들의 충돌을 약속합니다. 이 두 팀이 경쟁을 장악했으며 오늘은 단 한 팀만이 챔피언이 될 것입니다.
Whoa. Sorry, everybody. I was watching anime when I made this.
Welcome to Battle for the Peak, a Summit story.
Cyberbullies, Ganking Private Ryan. These two teams have had an immense amount of strengths this season, and at this point in the playoffs, very few weaknesses. Cyberbullies have earned a reputation for their sometimes relentless playstyle and strong synergy across the map. Each member of this team brings a unique skill set to the table, but it's their coordination that sets them apart. Whether it's OT Gator's omniscient eye on the map as a whole, or their resiliency to face foes head-on, Cyberbullies know how to capitalize on small advantages. Their adaptability in different situations shows just how in tune they are with each other, which makes them a formidable force in this tournament. With their momentum building, the question remains, can anybody slow them down? Ganking Private Ryan, on the other hand, is a team that has a tremendous amount of superstar potential among their members. The issue this team struggled the most with during the earlier regular season seemed to be finding a recipe that cooked success consistently. And after much adjustment and role swapping, it seemed the secret ingredients are putting Neversaw mid, provide her resources for success, and then some orientation of Ryan and Proton Plat players switching between ADC and jungle. Despite those players seeming to provide a large amount of influence, Brissy continues to be a notable anchor and consistent in the top lane. Last time these two titans faced off, it was a 2-0 for Cyberbullies, but the series score does not tell the story of how the match went. As we can see from these graphs, a fair amount of Drake control seems to be a huge catalyst for wins. Cyberbullies managed to amass a dragon's horde of gold and steal away the 2-0 win. They do this by just outpunching Ganking Private Ryan, both in terms of kills and towers. Despite the immense amount of damage Neversaw was able to do in that ADC role. And with the entire season being mainly dominated by Dragon Souls and Drake control, Cyberbullies remains the only team to have beaten Ganking Private Ryan, while I not only had Dragon Soul, but Elder as well. Will this be Cyberbullies' time to show that they can allocate resources to unfamiliar parts of the map? Or will they stick to the tried and true? Does Ganking Private Ryan have the formula finally figured out? Or are they cooking out of their minds? Only time will tell. I was fortunate enough to have an interview with each of the players and a couple analysts about the game before heading into the grand final series. Let's see what they have to say. And here we have Brissy. Brissy, the top laner for Ganking Private Ryan. Got a couple of questions for you. Poor guys got back from a dart tournament, able to come up at 11 p.m. for this interview, so kudos to him, while also being sick. So big claps to Brissy.
Too many kisses with Patrick.
Oh, true. Yeah, you guys are both sick, which is unfortunate, but what are you going to do? So looking back on your journey through not only this season, but the seasons that you participated in, do you have like a couple moments that just stick out the most memorable for you, both as a teammate and a player?
That's a really good question. Well, I mean, I'll start off by saying like every team that I've been on in Summit for the 3 seasons I've had, they've all been phenomenal. I mean, getting a chance to play with Rob, and you know, me being on Gar's team 2 seasons in a row, he's been someone that I've been a huge fan of since joining Summit.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, so as far as teams go, I mean, I cannot complain about any of it. Even, the disappointing finishes in season 1, but I was a very different player than I am now.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, your experiences leading up to this point have got you to the grand finals. Has, your experiences in particular done anything to shape your mindset going into this grand final?
Well, I mean, just the experience in playing, like punching up or trying to punch up so much, especially playing top lane. It's definitely made me think about the game much different. I've gone through ups and downs. It's tough to learn something like that on the fly so quickly, or be, I hold myself to such a high standard that, when things don't go my way, which happened quite often, you tend to get a little bit disappointed. But
Sure.
I think the mental game is the biggest, especially as a lower elo player. You definitely have to be able to take those punches and not give up, which I've been close to a couple times. I will admit.
Yeah,
But
it's tough. I mean,
gotta have a tough mental to push through
right,
these types of things. But it's been a awesome experience. I've loved it.
Now, as you mentioned, the season has been full of highs, lows, challenges. How have you personally enjoyed the competition so far? And then beyond that, what does making it to this grand finals mean to you?
Oh, dude, making it to grand finals is huge. Like I would, if you would have told me that in my 3rd season at Summit I'd be in grand finals, I'd have said, "No, you're an idiot. Like there's no shot." But I mean, you get on a team with players like Neversaw, Ryan, PPP, and Jerboas. I mean, I could say the same thing about all the other teammates I've had, but going into playoffs, there was a lot of expectation from outside sources as well as within our team that we weren't going to perform. But it's been awesome. I think a lot of the communication and figuring out what our win con as a team has leveled up significantly since even the first week of playoffs.
Yeah.
So it feels really good, and I think that regardless of what the outcome is, we've exceeded expectations by a lot.
Yeah, that's got to be rewarding in and of itself. But yeah, that
absolutely
definitely something that has been kind of the theme of your team in this video is the level up story. First couple weeks a little rough, but once you guys, I'm alluding it to being like a recipe for success. Once you guys figured out your key ingredients, you guys started hammering out that recipe. And then
yeah, absolutely.
presumably, obviously, you're the team that has the biggest flex roll opportunity, but presumably you're going up against Briz in the top lane.
Yep, that'll happen.
Facing each other in this final, what do you respect most about Briz, and how do you feel this matchup reflects the story of this season's competition?
I just chatting with Briz in general and trash talk has been awesome. I think the guy's fucking great. He's hilarious. Guy's got massive arms, so kind of look up to him in a few different ways. But
Right.
He's got some really good game knowledge, and he just seems so cool, calm, and collected when he's playing. Like, I will say that the matchups that we had when we played in, I think it was week 1, were horrible. And like I said, the player I am then versus who I am now, I think is much different. We won't be playing Malphite into Silas, and I'll try not to look like such a goober playing Cassante into his Camille. So hopefully this series coming up plays out a little bit differently. But huge respect to that guy. Like I said, cool, calm, and collected. He's got a big ego, but he has the ability to back that up. So
right, that's always a notable thing. Now, on the other side of respect, maybe an opportunity to throw a little bit of shade, a little disrespect. I've been given every player that I've been fortunate enough to interview a little chance to to throw some shade or some final words for your opponents coming up here in the grand finals? Do you have any things you wanna leave the interview with?
Man, that's tough. I mean,
It is, yeah.
I can't. I've never been much of a trash talker in all my time. I like everybody in Summit, but that is a part of the game. Although recently, like these past couple weeks, I've really had the ability to talk some trash, especially this last series against Dog. I think I performed really well into a player that, you know, was expected to smoke me. But I don't know. I would say that Briz is probably. I mean, he is facing a different player than he played in week 1. So he's
Ooh,
gotta
okay.
watch his back just a little bit more. But that team is really really coordinated. They have a lot of game knowledge, so it's gonna be something to overcome for us over at GPR. But people thought we were gonna have that same issue against the other two teams that we had really good series against.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here, folks, from the man who is potentially doped up with NyQuil, DayQuil, whatever he needs to. And we look forward to seeing the matchup. I hope to I'm definitely going to be a spectator, hopefully be a shoutcaster in that. But thank you so much, Brissy, for joining me. You have a great rest of your day, sir.
I can't wait, man. We'll be putting on a show for sure.
And I'm joined by Briz, the top laner for Cyberbullies. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for asking. I was able to have a moment to speak with Brissy, and he had indulged me for a little bit. So if you wouldn't be so kind as well, I got a couple questions for you. Looking back at your journey so far with Summit Esports, what's been your most memorable moment leading up to this finals, and how has that shaped you as a player?
My most memorable moment and how that shaped me as a player. Well, the most memorable moment was probably getting banned. That really sucked. I mean, like, I'm being honest, it's kind of like the last few weeks. I feel like I haven't played very much.
Right.
But yeah, there's been like a lot of things that I think like it might sound corny, but like the most memorable moment was like the first game for me, right? Because that was like, you know, I came into Summit, nobody knew who I was, and I look atrocious on my op.gg, so I really wanted to like show people that I could do something. And I think, you know, just popping off in the first game and then kind of like, you know, I guess meeting Brissy indirectly like that, now he's in the finals, like it all kind of ties together. And I don't really know how much that shaped me, but I think like, I guess, you know, just performing week by week, that really shaped like the perception. You know, it's all about first impressions.
Right. Well, I mean, with that, you were, I think, motivated to participate as hard as you have been for the season, and then beyond that, you know, getting drafted, and then the team that you're on, those have had, you know, some influence on your shaping so far. Well, with that, you know, you spoke about wanting to show up early in the season and, you know, really show that you know your stuff. Specifically, when it comes to adapting mid-game, what factors do you prioritize the most when making critical decisions? As the top lane, people say it's an island, and truthfully, it may be, depending on the matchup, right? But you also have the freedom to influence the map at your own pace. Is it the team's momentum that guides you, map control, or something else that you put at a top priority?
I think for me, it's really, really basic fundamentals.
Okay.
I've played comp a solid bit. I've also played a lot of draft leagues before. And I think the one thing that's really important is things that are easy to execute and easy to follow, right? So like the golden rule, if you want to contest dragon, you get priority mid first.
Right.
So I like to look on my fundamentals a lot. And then controversially, like I know, oh, well, the enemy's going to want to push mid to get prio, then maybe we can look for a fast play, like if we're losing or something, or another. So really, like, I think me and mid 2 easy are big on fundamentals and big on like just having like a better macro. We've had plenty of games I think we were losing early, but our fundamentals are really good, at least that I think. So that's usually what can bring us back in, is just having like trading something, you know, like making sure that we're always in that mindset of trading, right? If they're getting something, we want to get something else,
right?
We're always applying pressure even if we're down, right? So
Makes sense.
that's I think a really important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then last, what I call serious question, because there's one after this one too, but it's way more fun. So facing each other in the finals, presumably, I mean, obviously, Ganking Private Ryan being the team that has the flex capacity. I doubt Brissy will be going anywhere else, but facing Brissy in the top lane in the final, what do you respect most about your opponent, and how do you feel this matchup reflects the story of this season's competition?
I think what I respect most from what I've seen is Brissy's tenacity, because the first time I played against him, I think he had a fucking bad time. And from everything I've seen, all the evidence has been presented to me, he's improved a lot, or at least he's holding his own much better now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really excited for the rematch to see the difference between week 1 Brissy and week whatever Brissy we're at right now.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I'm the most excited.
Cool. And then with that, on that side of that token, the respect. On the other side of the token, final question. Do you have any final words, any shade you might want to throw to your upcoming competition?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Listen, as much as I said he's improved, he's got a long way to go before he reaches my level. All right. So I'm going to give it to Brissy. I'm gonna let him know. I'm gonna remind him who the big dog is, and he's gonna have to answer to me. And they might win mid, they might win bot, but I'm gonna make sure the game is tipped on the scales on the top side every time. So they're gonna be fighting that uphill battle every game. I'm gonna make sure Brissy remembers.
Well, folks, you heard it here. Briz the man, supposedly the bane of Brissy. We'll have to see. And man, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Briz, for joining me for this short interview. You have yourself a great one.
Thank you. You too.
And here we have Ryan. Ryan, you're on the brink of becoming the first ever, 3-time LaLiga / Summit champion. How does that specific legacy motivate you going into this final? Does it add any pressure to your gameplay at all?
Not really.
No.
As far as like pressure wise, like I don't think people have very high expectations of me. I feel like people constantly disrespect and discredit me anyway, so
I mean,
and
but the only
even
one to
winning the
man is
third
the third
time
time.
yeah, but even winning that, it probably won't matter. People's opinions won't change that much, and it is what it is.
All right. Your journey specifically with Ganking Private Ryan has been filled with a little bit of a bumpy start to maybe smoothing out throughout the rest of the season. But I personally think that you've consistently proved that you're one of the top junglers in the league. How has your experience from previous seasons shaped you into the approach for this particular season?
Honestly, nothing has prepared me for this season. This season has been it's been silly. Like it's just been us doing whatever the fuck we feel like in the moment. There's been no planning going into games. It has literally just been react to what we think is the best way to beat the team in front of us in that exact draft.
Yeah.
As far as when I'm going jungling, when I'm not, it's just been entirely based off of how the series has looked throughout the regular season. Though we didn't really even know what was going on. We were just kind of letting people go wherever they wanted to go.
Yeah.
But I do think that I might be wrong. I hope somebody fact checks it, but I think I've lost maybe once or twice all season on jungle, and every time I've gone jungle, I think I have like a 7-1, 6-1, 7-2 record, something like that. Feels like every time I've switched to jungle, we've won.
Done something pretty well, yeah. I mean, someone will fact check in the comments, I'm sure, or
I hope
whatever.
they do. I might be wrong, but I'm just going off of what it has felt like.
Yeah, that's fair. With that, do you have any advice? This is just in general. Any advice for those out there? It could be league related. It could not be any specific unsolicited advice from you, Ryan.
Just like about life, or
just in
it
general.
Or anything.
It could be about league. It could be about life. Whatever you want to, whatever tidbit you want to pour out there.
I think gotta say, I've found the friends that I know that I've had for 10 plus years now, and I'm lucky to have found those guys.
Yeah.
And I've added new friends to them that I do think are going to be longtime friends, but just don't get too caught up over people that you've met when you're young and thought that they were your boys and they were going to be in your life for a long time, because it's not the case. People's lives go different paths all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, with that, any final closing remarks for, we'll just say, for OT Gator in particular?
Why him specifically?
Well, I mean, presumably, we're all presuming, or under the presumption that you're going jungle, right? So he's your opponent. Any words for him?
That's very convenient for the content, huh?
I mean, we could spin it anyway.
I have no issues with Gator anymore. He's granted, I mean, it's been my opinion about a lot of players in this league that their friends and their people that, or just people in general in this league, tend to overrate certain players just because they want to be on their good side. At least my opinion. I don't give a fuck if people think I'm wrong, but I think that there are some players in this league that are extremely overrated for what they've actually shown.
Sure.
Whether it's based off of random regular season performances or solo queue or anything of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think he's one of them.
There you go. Well, you heard it here, folks. We'll have to see how this bout plays out. But thank you again for joining me for this quick little interview.
No problem.
All right, and I'm joined by OT Gator, the resident jungler for Cyberboys. Sir, how are you doing today? Looking fine with that white t-shirt.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's my undershirt. Let's fucking go. Doing
There
pretty
you go. This
good.
guy got the V.
Yeah, it was honestly, I have Hanes and some Calvin Kleins. And This is
Mhm.
Calvin Klein, and it's like randomly pulled out.
There you go.
But I'm doing pretty good. Watched the LCK finals last night. It was pretty lit.
Dude, that game 1 was nuts.
It was like the exact opposite of LCS finals. Where
Right.
It was just like LCS finals was like total slop throwing,
Yeah.
and then game 1, HLE just like out executed on like the clutch of that fight.
Yeah.
And they didn't have like some shitty 2-stack super minion wave bottom killing
Yeah.
nexus that Rel doesn't back for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Don't check your side wave before you try to go for a big push. But, I mean, to be fair, Nerves of Steel and probably really big and important voices on HLE for them to execute and commit to that plan. As a key player for your team, how do you balance individual performance with ensuring the entire team stays in sync during high pressure moments like that would be obviously one?
I would say it comes down to communication for the most part. Early game, it's me trying to communicate with my solo laners what they need at any given time.
Mhm.
If they need a hover, asking if I can make any kind of pivotal play. So some level 3 invade on enemy blue buff, something like that, right?
Right.
Being able to throw my weight around where it is most useful in terms of converting our game plan into a successful thing. And once because I'm playing characters like Vi or J4 at least, my impact in terms of like playmaking later in the game is more dependent on being able to have follow up with my weak side William, AD carry Luton,
Right.
or linking up with my top laner, getting some comms whether or not he's okay to just split push when he needs to base, when he can TP. I think that is the most important part, being able to successfully convey what any individual member needs, what I need, and coming together as a group in order to execute on that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a pretty proficient, proactive play style. With that, oftentimes, you're facing opponents that are also trying to allocate resources into certain sectors of their team. when facing tough opponents, in any sort of capacity, how do you mentally prepare yourself to stay focused and kind of maintain the confidence to make those decisions consistently throughout the series and the match?
Like individually or as a team?
Both. I mean, you can divulge as much as you would like to.
Okay. I don't think it's like any like necessarily like leaking strats or anything.
Sure.
But individually, me and actually everyone on that team has some level of competitive experience. I've played on my university team for the last 2 years, so I'm used to playing against collegiate level talent. I got a 10 piece. I got a 10 kill game on Briar against Maryville. So
okay, all right. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Niles got eaten, by the way. Like individually, we all are confident in our ability to stay focused, even when Soap is sprinting it. Like, he doesn't lose mental kind of thing, right? Like, Luton doesn't lose mental when he's watching his support run it down for the 4th time.
Well, for Soap's case, you can't lose mental if you don't have it,
Yeah, that guy actually has crazy.
He's
mental.
crazy mental. Like, he's like a goldfish. He just completely forgets what just happened.
Yeah, like it's insane. Actual Teflon cranium. It's insane.
Yeah.
And like that's really helpful for he'll have like a bad game. Not that I'm like individually calling out. Like, I think each of us on some level has had a game where we don't perform as expected, and it's our ability to understand like, yeah, that's like, it's one game, right? Like, we have a whole series. It's not going to be a big issue. And I think when we all individually have that mindset of we've been here before, it's fine. We can all convert that as a team. Like, game 2 draft starts, it's a new game, let's lock in.
Right. Well, with that too, I mean that can be mentally tiring and something that you have to overcome after a hard-fought game, one that might require that diligence and resilience. What's kind of your process for reviewing the match and identifying areas for improvement, both personally and for the team?
In the moment, we're really, really good for the most part about identifying what goes wrong. So, as an example, game 1 of our semifinals match against Core Ice team, we were able to isolate, like, we are not providing enough resources for our side laners. We're not buying them enough time on their turns in order to get objectives that we want or set up plays. And we're just too slow. So if we change up draft, for example, in that individual case, we can prevent us being, manipulated or taken advantage of on that end. And then also being more conscientious about, we want to play on this side. We need to set up this side in order to execute on this objective. It's just being able to communicate that and execute on that, which once again goes back to the mental part of always be adaptable, know where we are, like we're all here for a reason, and let's just focus.
Sweet. Well, with that, I got all the serious questions out of the way, and I'm gonna open the floor to you to say maybe a few choice words towards your competitors, your opponents coming up here shortly.
All right, sounds good. I can go lane by lane.
Okay. The dude's got an itinerary. Let's go.
Oh, I mean, I gotta have pointed flame.
True.
Generalized about it.
Yeah.
Brissy, tier 5 player. If it was nothing but tier 5 players across the entire league, top 2 player maybe.
Right.
Not 2, right? But he's against Briz, and Briz is going to turbo fist that guy. Like, I'm sorry, it's doomed. You're gonna lose top turret by 12 minutes.
Damn.
Unless Briz wants it open to farm you more. Like, oh well. If PPP is in the jungle, like I'm sorry, man. Like, it's beyond doomed. You cannot play through your solo lanes, so you have to play through your bot lane, and you have Vossler as your support.
Dang. Little gerbil, little gerbois.
Yeah. The gerbil himself.
Yeah.
No cheese will be given to him tonight. Saturday. Mid lane, never saw is really good mechanically. Knows what to do individually. Macro, that's a big yikes. And we have Mitsuizi, who is on his worst day equivalent in terms of micro, and also on his worst day can outcall anyone on GPR. Like, in terms of like if I'm having a 1v1, yeah, never saw is up there,
Right.
but it's a 5v5,
True.
and you don't move out of mid, so I'll take the guy that moves out of mid. You know.
Right.
80 carry Ryan. He's playing Yasuo. Like, okay, cool. I guess. Hope and pray that the rest of your team carries you. I guess. My bad. Just like last year. Hope that your support carries you to finals. The corpse of your jungler, I guess. And then Keith Vossler, he has King of the Hill on his second monitor. He is tabbed out. Like he's trying to go for a quick 3-0 so he can do Final Fantasy raids.
There you go.
I'll take Soap over that. You know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me for this interview. I'm very much looking forward to this series. This might be one of the spicy ones that go down in Summit history. So thank you for joining me. We'll see the action soon, TM.
They can bet on that one.
Hell yeah.
But see ya.
And I'm joined by the legend. Never saw herself. How are you doing today, miss?
Pretty good overall. Nothing crazy. Usual vibes.
Heck yeah. Well, let's jump into it. Never saw, your mid lane performance has been nothing short of electric this season, and now you're up against mid 2 easy in this finals. What makes this particular showdown different from your previous matchups, and how do you plan to approach it?
Well, this is definitely the first matchup where I feel like I really have to be mindful of like what I pick in my lanes, mostly because Too Easy is a good enough player to generally punish some of the crazier shenanigans I could get up to. Like trying to play Vlad and Ori. That might be a little rough against Too Easy. But I have played against him once before last season as well, when there was the Guards Kindergarten class versus the Academy best of 5. I think we were pretty even for the most part, if I recall. Maybe a little favor to me, maybe him. I honestly don't remember the specifics of the series. So this time it's kind of like, it'll be difficult, but I'd also like to show that you know, got some more practice under my belt, and also a little more stable together.
There you go. All good things, and obviously it's working considering you're in the grand finals. Beyond that, though, I have to point out that, I mean, you've had pretty established success this season in both mid and, you know, sometimes being pivoted to the ADC role. Do you feel like that flexibility as a player will give you an edge against mid 2 easy? Like maybe just not specifically, but also for your team as a whole, you know, and, you know, specifically that he's known for more of the tried and true traditional play. We know he's going mid lane.
Maybe. I think it's generally pretty clear to everyone though that the difference in gameplay with just me in the mid lane versus just about anyone else is pretty stark. Also, if you're sending me to like the ADC role, a pretty common thing we saw was either that they would just go to the other side of the map completely. They would just ditch bot lane, leave them on an island, and just play hard mid top. Or they would just start 4-man diving. Cyber Bullies were the ones who played away, and Dognatos in our first run in with them during regular season, they played insanely hard towards bot lane. And so putting someone like me down there in the lane to kind of get ganged up on is perhaps not the best thing.
Sure.
But nothing's out of the question. You never know what a draft will come to be.
Right.
I mean,
I can just see it. I can see it now. Oh, Smolder's left open. Cool. Oh, wow. It's a really bad Smolder mid matchup, but ...
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't even know if Ryan or Noah's going jungle or ADC until we're in the draft. So.
Yeah, and speaking about that too, obviously one difficulty or one characteristic I would say about being on a competitive team is kind of conversing with your teammates before, after, or during draft. about what champions to play. How has it been kind of having that extra layer of talking about what roles your team's willing to swap through during draft or beforehand?
I mean, honestly, if I can just sum that all up, is cursing okay? We good with that? Or
Yeah, absolutely.
all right. Basically, our entire draft is we figure out a couple bands and fuck it, we ball. That's about it. We just kind of roll with picks. I can tell you that probably like almost half the chance we keep picking or something are just quite literally somebody's like, oh, that sounds good, and a lot of the time it ends up well. Occasionally you get
Right.
Noah's Shyvana or Lee Sin
We don't talk about the Shyvana here.
or the Lee Sin.
Cursing's allowed. Talking about that, not so much.
Gonna get fined.
Yeah, we're gonna get in trouble. I don't even know where I'm gonna post this, but yeah, regardless. Well, thank you. That was kind of the serious questions I had, but I do want to, on a more or a less serious note, open the floor for you. If you have any choice words for any of your opponents coming up, feel free to. You have the floor.
Any choice words? Wow, that's kind of hard to say. I mean, it would probably mostly be for Briz and Too Easy. For Briz specifically, nice ego, buddy. I'm not gonna say any more than that. You know.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
And-
unbiased as I'm the neutral party here for all of this. So.
Don't worry about it. As for Too Easy, honestly, I'm just happy to get to play against him again. We've talked about this mid matchup before, and he's usually been the one who mentioned like he feels like I should be having the edge typically when we play because he is out of practice. And it's a little unfortunate that we're not in a world where I can play against the prime Too Easy. But realistically speaking, like I'm the one who's still practicing, still playing amateur a lot. Too Easy's kind of just old school RuneScape retired mode. And if anything, I would say if I'm getting gapped, perhaps that's a little suspicious on my side.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this interview. I'm very much looking forward to this match, and maybe we'll be talking again. Maybe we'll do like a post interview if you win. We'll see. Who knows? But thank you again for joining me.
Thank you.
And we have Mid Too Easy, the mid laner from Cyberbullies, here to answer some questions. Mid Too Easy, we've been noticing that there's a pretty impeccable series of map control and synergy with OT Gator, your jungler, and that tends to bring a lot of victories to your guys' team. How do you plan to bring that coordination into this matchup against Neversaw, who's been just a real dominant force in the mid lane specifically?
I don't know. I think that I'm not too big a part of that. OT Gator generally knows what he should be doing, and I've instructed the players to properly call for resources to just make his time a bit more efficient.
Okay, all right.
But then, like, the player that's mainly been helping him out, moving around the map would probably be Soap. Soap's just been roaming a bunch on like 90% of matches. Sometimes roaming a bit too much, but we've been working on that. Yes, I don't think I've really contributed much with OT Gator's success. I think it's mainly just been OT Gator, the team as a whole, and then a bit of Soap help.
Okay. And you faced Neversaw in crucial moments before, but I mean, this is grand finals. What do you see as the biggest challenge in going head to head with her in the mid lane?
They're unpredictable, I guess.
Yeah.
Most of the other players, I can just kind of know what to expect. Like know what champions to expect. Know what sort of playstyle I should try to do in order to get the most out of the match. Whereas nobody, not even Neversaw, knows what's going to happen from their gameplay in a game, right? Sometimes they're going to show up. They're just going to drop a semifinals performance. Other times you're gonna show up and they're gonna drop a soap level performance. And they're just gonna grieve.
Fair enough. And I mean, throughout the season, despite maybe kind of the team's orientation and, as you just mentioned, the general game plan, I mean, you've still been a pretty big catalyst for success as well. How does this finals matchup against Ganking Private Ryan push you to bring your A game? And are there any unique strategies we can expect from the Cyber Bullies in the mid lane specifically?
I don't know. Probably not from the mid lane. We've got something we might cook up, but mum's the word on that one.
Mum's the word.
I don't know. I'm a pretty uninspiring player. I just kind of I just kind of show up, do my thing, then that's it.
I mean, you've been pumping the damage. I've seen the numbers. I got some insider information on the stats for both teams throughout the season. So, I mean, grateful that you're humble in that regard, but you know, definitely want to give you a token of credit as well. And then lastly, we'll just wrap up this interview. Do you have any, you know, choice words for your opponent coming up? Any specific things you want to let linger for them to think about?
I think we've got the better team by a pretty significant margin. I think I'm the better captain as well, and I think that's probably the difference maker for the series.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking some time to join me for answering a couple questions. I look forward to either viewing the match as a spectator or casting it, but thank you again for joining me. You have a good one.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I am joined by Proton Plat player. Gotta say, probably one of the big strategists on his team, Ganking Private Ryan, and also one of the pivotal pieces of their flex opportunities. How you doing today, sir?
Doing fantastic. I'm just great to be in the finals so I can 3-0 Cyber Bullies.
Yeah, you gotta get it on the docket now. That's why we're doing this. And throughout your history too, you know, despite the memes and people, you know, discrediting you where it happens, you know, you still play consistently at a pretty damn high level. But how do you think your playstyle has evolved since joining the league initially, and what are the key changes that you made over time?
So I think when I started, it was a lot more of wanting to play around me, and that was kind of a reflection of the fact that I was comparatively, you know, higher elo back then. But now that we have like GM players and master players, like wanting to play more with them. Then also I've found a good balance of, you know, restraint and cooking per se, and just trying to make sure that, you know, I'm always trying to play for the team and that the team is down for it, because nobody wants to be on a team where one player's just kind of dictating everything, and I always just want to make sure that everyone is happy.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good thing too, especially in a, you know, leadership type role. And I guess with that, a lot of people look to your voice, you know, for guidance when things get chaotic in your in-game chat and in-game specifically. How do you try and kind of keep the support and the morale of your teammates up, kind of keep control to ensure that the team stays calm and focused?
I'd say things don't really get chaotic. I mean, if we're getting pulled apart across the map, which, you know, happens sometimes, I guess that would be chaotic. But mostly when we've had our struggles, when we've had our issues and our losses, there's too little communication.
Okay.
And it kind of goes quiet. But if you watch my streams, you watch Neversoft streams, I'm always just trying to cheer up my team. You know, when Gerbos has a pop-off moment, or Valsler, I mean, and he pops off on Yumi or something, then, you know, I'm yelling, screaming his name. If Brissy gets a solo kill, I'm screaming that he's the best top laner. He's screaming with me, and then obviously, I mean, Neversaw, she's really good. So I mean, praise her for, you know, getting leads, but I don't get as excited. But then, you know, Ryan, when he's popping off on Yasuo and he's like killing this lane that he has no right to be killing,
Right.
then I'm always
hype.
I'm always just trying to praise. Yeah, I always just try to praise my teammates, and I'm always trying to find a silver lining for things. We may have lost the fight, but hey, we got the Drake. We have 3 grubs, so even though they got the other 3 grubs, nobody has
Right.
void mines.
Yeah, just
Stuff
kind of
like
like
that.
the brighter side of things, which is important.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely for morale.
Yes. I'm always
Um,
just trying to be an optimist about it.
and that's kind of your action plan during a series. Before a major match, what does your preparation look like? Do you focus more on reviewing like the opponent's play style, or kind of perfecting your own strategies?
So it kind of comes up about 10 minutes before game time. We put a lot of emphasis on it.
Mhm.
We draft starts and we say, all right, what are we banning? And it's like, well, I don't want to play against this champion, or this person plays this champion, so we just ban it. And we've lost our game ones because we get hit by usually something that we're not expecting, and say, all right, we'll just ban it for the next game, and that has tended to work for us. But in terms of the actual preparation, there's not a whole lot there. We just kind of wing it as we go.
Do you have like an in-person like IRL ritual that you do?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a weird
no
question.
meditating. Yeah.
No, I have to eat a peanut butter sandwich with all the crusts cut off,
No one crustables here.
Dang, all right. Well, that kind of takes it for me in terms of the serious questions, but I do want to open the floor a little more lighthearted, a little more silly. Do you have any choice words for your upcoming competition that you want to leave on the stage here?
Too easy. Sit down. You will never be as good of a team captain or team manager as me. You're the reason that we lost last season. You tilted the hell out, and yes, I know playing with Sunny Blues is tilting, but you're an inter dog. You're going to get gapped by Neversaw. It's not even going to be close, and I'm gonna do it with one hand tied behind my back. I mean, that's probably not true, but
One hand tied behind your back, and
then
2 sheens in your inventory.
and 2 sheens in my inventory. One with one hand, one in my mouth. And Briz, you better watch out. Bristy's coming for you.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much. The man, the myth, the legend, PPP. Thank you for joining me for this interview. You have yourself a good one.
You too.
And I'm joined by Luden. I don't know why you guys can't pronounce that. Of course, the famous ADC player for none other than the Cyber Bullies. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Heck yeah, I'm freaking good. Got you on for an interview, so let's get into it.
Took a couple tries.
Yeah. So, just some really great questions. No patting myself on the back here. Your adaptability in high pressure situations is often speculated on and praised. How do you maintain specifically focus and or adjust your playstyle when things aren't going as planned during a game?
It's kind of bad, but my first thought when you mentioned focus is I just got to flame soap either mentally or externally. But no, I recognize the win cons, recognize, I'm not exactly the thing to play around sometimes, and just accept that and play around what the team is for. And I've played in multiple teams now, and I've played strong side, I've played weak side. I enjoy them about the same. So
yeah, they both present their own unique challenge in that regard. All right, and as you kind of progress through your entire competitive journey, not just Summit related, since you have a more expansive experience, what is one piece of advice or lesson that has stuck with you and shaped your approach to gaming in general?
I mean, I'm always big on just comfort in draft, and just not only that, but towards your teammates, I think. I think obviously blaming your teammates isn't ideal, albeit I'm personally a fan of blame both from me and towards me. And my other team, I was the soap of my last team. I got flamed a lot, and I don't, it's fine as long as it's not taken too personally and it's actually constructive. But I think it just comfort in being willing to talk with teammates and stuff.
Right. And speaking of being able to talk to teammates, what role do you believe that like team chemistry plays in Summit Esports or just in competitive environments in general? And how do you contribute to building that sense of almost unity with your team?
What was that first part? What role?
Yeah, what role do you believe team chemistry plays in, you know, competitive gaming, Summit Esports or otherwise?
I mean, I think it's kind of just inherent in like team fights and stuff that you have to have some form of chemistry to be able to just communicate with each other or read what the other player's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And after that is just like being able to talk to each other and draft and plan things out and all that. I don't think it's that crazy big a deal at this stage of a team, but it definitely improves the team quicker, I would say.
Sure. It builds camaraderie too, so you have that kind of mental boon.
That way we can bully Soap without him leaving the team.
Yeah. He gets his frustrations out on me and everyone else that hates the 2-word sentences, but regardless. That being said, that concludes kind of the serious questions, but I do want to open up the floor for you if you had any choice words for your competition coming up. Anything you want to leave on the table here?
I mean, I feel like we're pretty much the favorites, and I think we probably 3-0, so I don't want to punch down too much, but we'll see on the Rift. That's all I'll put.
All right. Heck yeah. Well, Luton, guys, again, literally just say Luton and you got it. Thank you so much for joining me.
No problem.
You have a good one.
You too.
All right. We have Jerboas here. Jerboas, you've been a crucial part of Ganking Private Ryan's success with, you know, having the necessity to get that vision control, you know, playmaking here and there when apt. How do you plan to control the map in this final matchup against Cyber Bullies, who are known for strong objective control?
I mean, as long as I continue like denying stuff after, you know, we make plays or we know if someone's not in their spot, I'll probably just continue prioritizing doing that. I've been trying to step up a lot on my word game. Actually, it hasn't been that great, at least in the start of the season, but I've been at least making it double digits, so that's all that matters, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, you guys have shown tremendous improvement from the first week till now, and obviously whatever you're doing's been working since you're in grand finals. If you had to choose, or I guess better yet, who do you prefer as an ADC? Proton plat player, Ryan, or Neversaw?
I'm just gonna say this. I think Ryan is like the perfect AD carry, at least right in this situation, because I feel like Neversaw is good, but like she won't be able to put enough impact just in AD carry alone. I feel like she just does like so much more mid, and a lot of her like, you know, carry potential shines a lot more mid because, I mean, quite frankly, she doesn't have a tier 4 support. You know, like her.
You're doing great. Come on.
I'm not saying I'm like terrible, but it's like, you know, like you know, Masters, you know, really needs, you know, a lot more help. So I'd say I prefer Neversaw mid because she has more carry potential there. Ryan's a bit more stable. He's very communicative when he wants to fight, when he doesn't want to fight. So I really do appreciate that. It helps me a lot with figuring out where to position during in lane. So it's helped me be able to just actually play the game a lot more efficiently. And I think PvP was fine AD carry. I mean, he just needed a bit more work on AD carry in general. It definitely needed more oven time before we shoved him down there. So I'm kind of glad we kept him in the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, again, as I mentioned, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? As support, your role can set the pace in the early game with roaming and map awareness. You know, are there any key priorities going into the grand final to help your team get that upper hand?
I would say just, I mean, Like for scouting, figuring out what they're gonna play.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're playing like a poke lane like Yumi Ezreal, we don't really want to play too aggressive because I can imagine Soap's gonna go into Leona and another engaged support possibly. So
Right. Okay. And then lastly, just a final tidbit. You have any final words for I mean, obviously you guys are the team that would role swap, so this question's pretty solidified. For your lane opponent, you have any choice words for Soap in that support role?
all I'm just gonna say to him is good luck, man. We both met at the grand finals. We both, crawled the way up here, bro. Let's duke it out like men and end this like men.
Like men. Well, thanks, the manliest man of all. I hope I don't know. I hope all your extreme trials go well or something. Hope Duty Finder treats you well or something. Thank you, Jabos. Appreciate you.
Thank you for interviewing me.
And I'm joined by, gosh, never before a man with such a legacy, such as Soap. Welcome, Soap. How you doing today?
Excellent, thank you. How about
Yeah.
yourself?
I'm doing very well. You dressed to impress. I gotta say, McLaren's representing big time right now. They've got to get a sponsorship deal out to you or something.
Maybe. I don't know if I'm that popular yet. But
Not yet. Yeah, the operative word being yet. So, got some questions for you. Right into it. Cyberbullies has faced a variety of teams this season. What do you feel has been your most challenging matchup in lane? And how did you adapt your playstyle to overcome that?
I mean, there's really only one answer to this question. There's only one team we didn't roll over, and that we played them twice. That's Darius Kittens, and it makes sense that they're the hardest bot lane to face as well, because Asteria and Array were their tier 1 and 2 players. So that team was the hardest to face, but we adapted to play. Well, is you just gotta think with your head, right? Swallow your ego a little bit. Me and Luton, we both know that we are the two worst players on the team for tier 4 and 5, so we just have to sit back, play safe, or not die, which sometimes when I'm on Senna or Nautilus, it doesn't really go to plan. But,
Your Senna's godlike. Come on, dude.
And we trust the idea. The game plan is trust our like Briz and Too Easy and Gator to have more of an impact on the game than their team's tier 1, 2, and 3. So
right,
as long as we make sure that like Daria and Array didn't get super giga fed every game, we just put our faith in our top side of the map to get more fed than them, and
well, I mean, you made it to grand finals, so something had to have worked there. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, even if it is becoming weak side William.
yes, sir.
The support players kind of get a bad rap oftentimes, but I think it's pretty pivotal, and they're pretty influential during the entirety of the game. You know, early game for your lane, but they often have to juggle both defense and offensive roles in team fights. How do you find the balance between peeling for your team and making aggressive plays to engage and/or disrupt the enemy?
Oh, the balance I find might not particularly be within a specific team fight. I mean, sometimes it is, but on a lot of champions, I feel like if you go into engage, you're kind of stuck there until your mobility comes back up with E.
Mm-hmm.
But like, the main is just looking, see what happens. Like, if there's 3 assassins on top of mid lane or ADC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Might be something that I should focus on, right? But if
Sure.
if they're just free hitting and there's nothing really threatening them, that's when I would go in, right?
Sure.
Also think you said supports have a bad rap. I might be a little bit responsible for that.
No, it couldn't be you. So you have a very unique way of typing. We all know what it is. I do have to ask, this might be just the big brain play. Is this part of your strategy to keep everyone on their toes, or are you secretly trying to make everyone read in slow motion? That's the real trick. Keep them guessing.
So, yeah, at first, like, it is just a habit. I've done it forever.
Sure.
It has been mentioned before to me by some of my trusted advisors.
Yes, your trusted advisors. Yeah.
No one's ever taken a problem with it until Summit Esports a few days ago. But I do think that I am nowhere close to the only person who does it, just because of the volume of messages and the amount of conversations I partake in, where it's noticed more from me.
Some would say keyboard warrior. I wouldn't say that. I'd say a keyboard legend. What kind of keyboard do you even have is the real question. How does something a mortal make, something not crafted by the gods themselves, deal with your keystrokes? I don't get it. This doesn't make any sense to me.
My keyboard, I don't actually know. I mean, right now I'm on my laptop, so I can't even look at it. But I got this for $200 off Marketplace, by the way.
There you go.
The keyboard I have came with my pre-built, so I don't even know what it is. I think I looked it up online. It's like $20 or something.
Hey,
But
it works.
It does the job.
Exactly.
It makes cool noises, and also this might come as a surprise to almost everyone in this server. 90% of my typing is not even done on my computer. It's on my phone while
okay.
on the bus, walking somewhere. Most of the time I'm just typing on the phone and I have the slide to type, so
that makes a lot more sense than you being at a keyboard just hammering a few pecks away at a time.
I actually have a life, believe it or not.
Whoa. I was about to say, you have any trash talk for your opponents, but it sounds like you're trying to trash talk Summit as a whole. Telling everyone to touch some grass. No, but seriously, I will wrap up this interview with leaving you an opportunity to leave some choice words if you want for your opponents coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never not take an opportunity to trash talk. Obviously, a lot of this stuff will come back to bite me in the very hypothetical
Unless you win.
If we get shit, right?
Yeah, you just don't get shit on, forehead.
Exactly. I do think that Ryan, two-time champion, third time in the finals, I think he should go buy a lottery ticket. He is so lucky. He just keeps on ending up on good teams. And yeah, he should go buy a lottery ticket. I don't think he's that good. I think he's just really lucky.
Shoot. All right. Well,
that's what I have to say about
that's what he's got to say. That's how this man wants to leave the interview. I respect it. You got to throw shade when you can.
More to say. That was just about Ryan.
Oh, he ain't done yet. Okay.
I think that Noah, he shouldn't be an admin.
Whoa! That has nothing to do with the matchup at all, dude. You're going off the rails.
Well, their trash talk about me is about the way I type, so I can trash talk the way they admin. I don't think he should. I think he admins the same way he plays League of Legends. Mediocre on a good day, but on a normal day, don't really want him in the scene, right?
Wow.
For Bullies, I can't really say anything about him. He's the same as my top laner and mid laner, right? Started on the climb. They play old school RuneScape all day and don't even look at League of Legends, right?
Hey, don't you talk crap about OSRS, bro. Come on. I put in my hours too.
I'm not talking about OSRS. I'm talking about Final Fantasy 14.
I'll put in my time in that too, bro.
At least play a good game, Jerbois. Like, come on, man. You can't be defending yourself with that. See, you know, he gets a lot of love in Summit, right? A lot of respect, everyone, but we played on the Risen team together. He was my support. I don't know if the people who are loving him have played with him, to be honest.
Whoa.
His gameplay is a little bit suspicious.
Whoa.
And to finish it off, never saw. She has a trash talk role now, so this is allowed. Again, I think if you're like, it's the same logic. If I'm playing against someone 1,000 LP below me every game, of course I'm gonna 1v9 the game, right? We'll see what happens when she's against someone her own elo, right?
Ooh.
I think she's just a bully picking on some lows.
Well, I think that'll be a good time to call before things get a little bit more heated somehow. But thank you, Soap, again for joining me. I look forward to seeing how this matchup plays and whether or not you have to eat your words.
If I have to eat my words, I'm gonna look like, well, I can't even say that anymore.
You can start looking like me. You do how much words you have, bro. You gotta be careful. Start putting on the pounds.
If I eat my words, I'm gonna be huge afterwards.
You'd be
so
huge. You have a good one. Thank you again for joining me.
No problem. See you around.
All right, and one of our two analysts, Steven's actually joined us here for a brief little interview. Steven, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for joining me. Couple quick questions for you, if you do not mind. As analysts, you know, and you've kind of followed the season along pretty closely. What do you think will be the key factors that could determine the outcome of this grand final between Ganking Private Ryan and Cyberbullies?
I think both teams can hold their own in lane. I think what's gonna come down to it is who has the better team fight. The one who probably comes out on the team fight will probably win the game.
Okay. And specifically, both teams do kind of have like a distinct play style. Cyberbullies with their kind of structured map control, and Ganking Private Ryan with their, you know, superstar flexibility is what I've referred to it as. From your perspective, which team's strategy seems better suited for high stakes finals?
I think definitely in a 5-game series, I would definitely say Ganking Private Ryan. But as you can see, like in the dog game. But I think the high offensive power that Cyberbully has is probably giving them the advantage, in my opinion.
Okay. We'll put that on the docket. Steven votes for. All right. And then the last question, real quick. Looking at the individual matchups, especially in the jungle and mid lane, that being OT Gator mid to easy on Cyberbullies, and then presumably some sort of amalgamation of Never Saw, Proton Plat Player, and Ryan. How do you think the player dynamics will affect the pacing of the game, and which team do you think has the most powerful potential to surprise us?
To be honest, I think Ganking Private Ryan has the highest potential to surprise us. I think Never Saw puts a lot of wrinkles and a lot of unpredictabilities in the game. If she gets ahead, I believe Ganking Private Ryan will win the game. And honestly, in the top lane, I feel like that's where Cyberbullies has the largest advantage. If top lane gets too far ahead, I think Cyberbully gets the game.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Steven, for taking the time to answer just a few questions. I look forward to hopefully watching the game with you, if not casting it for you as well. And I hope to see you there.
Yeah.
You have a good one. I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Roblin Goblin. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Beavertop.
Of course, yeah. So I have a couple of questions here for you. I gave you some information to overlook because you got the big stat brain, so we'll put that to the test.
Yeah.
You know, as you kind of followed the season, leading up to this grand finals, of course, what do you think will be, you know, maybe some key factors between Ganking Private Ryan and Cyberbullies in the final itself?
Yeah. So based on what I've seen from the season, and I'm kind of tuning in a little bit later than some people, the standout thing is the swap in Ganking Private Ryan from Never Saw playing ADC to mid. So that just right there, huge dynamics change. Tier 1 player swapping roles. What does that look like? Obviously, it's been a very positive impact to Ganking Private Ryan, and what it affects to me is kind of like what their focus is on the game. So if you don't know, Never Saw is the queen of scaling champs. So plays Kassadin, Smolder, Vladimir. I would count Garen as a scaler, but there's kind of like this mid game thing, a bit of like one shot ability on ADCs.
I mean, Nasus too, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Nasus mid. That's definitely a pick. Not a pick I'm personally excited about as an ADC, but it's a pick for sure. The Wither's
great. Very fun.
ability.
Yeah.
But so for me, what a lot of players like to do at the end of the game, and when they're looking at the score sheet, they like to jump to the damage chart, which is obviously a huge indicator. But connected to that, and what I think gives a better picture is the gold chart. So if you're looking at the gold chart for a team that has initiative early will grab the gold chart, like make a positive play, and then if a good team will maintain it, so you won't see these kind of dips and flips back and forth, because once you start to build enough of a lead, those positive leads will lead into more positive leads and opportunities. So for a team like GPR, Ganking Private Ryan, and Never Saw, who's playing these scaling champions in mid lane, you'll see that their gold chart spikes really late in the game. Compare and contrast that to Cyber Bullies, a team that likes to take leads early in both solo lanes, Briz and mid to easy, two strong solo laners. OT Gator, a pretty strong jungler, one of the strongest junglers Summit has seen, and definitely currently in the season. Also a pretty solid bot lane. So reasons to be doing things in the early game and making positive things happen. So these two gold charts, one team's grabbing an early gold lead and maintaining it in Cyber Bullies, and we've seen that they've just succeeded in all of their games, playoffs. It's been a pretty easy run for them. They're now in grand finals.
Right.
Versus Ganking Private Ryan, this team that kind of spikes towards the end. It's definitely going to be risky, I think, to play this scaling style that Never Saw wants, and maybe mid to easy is prepared for it in draft. So it's definitely like a draft question. Can you deny Never Saw's champion pool of scaling champions and then counterpick?
Right.
But honestly, if Cyber Bullies is doing so much in their early game that I think they're gonna grab it, and they're gonna spiral out of control in a sense to victory. Spiral in control, honestly, to victory.
Right.
And then that's going to be the factor that determines why Cyber Bullies is going to win grand finals over Ganking Private Ryan.
Okay. And as you mentioned, kind of the gold grabs do paint a better picture as to what's been successful for both teams. It's kind of funny, though, you kind of highlight GPR having this rocky start and then kind of a grand finish. It's almost kind of how the season's gone for them too. You know, the first couple weeks pretty rough, kind of identifying their recipe for success. But yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Never Saw, she's been instrumental for success, being specifically the ringleader from the mid lane for Ganking Private Ryan, and then OT Gator, you know, flexing his influence on the entire map. Has been kind of the biggest boon for success for the Cyber Bullies. And with that, I do want to ask, you know, those two players being kind of the bigger parts of influence on this upward slope of gold. As someone who has a couple titles under your belt with LaLiga and Summit, what do you think are the three most important things they need to keep in their head, the forefront of their mind during this grand final series?
Don't get too tricky in draft. I think teams like to emotionally respond to a loss with changes in draft. Don't get too tricky. Never Saw's got 4 or 5, maybe 6 different scaling champions. Identify ahead of time counters to these champions, identify the ones that you have to ban. Looking at OT Gator, make plays that are impactful but not risky. You don't want to give Neversaw early leads. There's also other players on GPR that will be impactful. PPP, a deep champion pool, but an esoteric one. You're not really sure what PPP is going to play, but you can expect it to have a pretty strong impact. Also, Ryan, a slightly esoteric champion pool, definitely flexes into multiple roles. So more kind of versatility there.
Right.
Now, these players are impactful, but it is going to come back to Neversaw and what she's able to accomplish on these scaling champions. So other things to think about. At what point is Neversaw strong? So GPR should be talking about item spikes, and really consider Neversaw as the forefront. Like, hey, Neversaw, are you at 3 items? Or are you at 4 items? Are you level 16? Don't fight too early. Are we giving 2 dragons? And these are all questions that GPR need to be asking to not give the gold lead to Cyberboys early,
right?
Because it's obvious if you look at their gold charts in previous games, Cyberboys gets and then maintains and continues to build a gold lead. So definitely don't give them those early opportunities in the form of mistakes by trying to do too much. You have a scaling mid laner typically,
right?
So definitely like play for that win condition.
Yeah, let them scale. You have to. It's the nature of not only the champion pools you have articulated, but almost seems to be Neversaw's kind of bread and butter playstyle. She's just very adept at kind of that. Guys, just give me some time. I will open the backpack. You just got to hop in at a certain point in the game.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? I mean, and to mention, it's gonna be a grand finals regardless, both in the quality of the game and the status of the fact that it's the last game of the season. But I'm looking forward to watching it. Thank you so much, Mr. Roblin Goblin himself. A little bow, if you will. Thank you for joining me. And again, we'll see you guys there for the finals. Well, that's it for this video, I guess. Huge thank you to everyone who let me interview them. Your insights are going to make this match even more exciting, along with the shit talking. But man, oh man, get ready, because this showdown is going to be one for the books. The mid lane battles, the top lane matchup, the jungle v jungle, the bot lane duos. It's all coming down to this. Don't miss a second of the action. Stay tuned and let's see who comes out on top of Summit this season. Peace.